My kids hated English. In fact, one of them offered to pay me not to teach it. I thought I knew why they hated grammar and writing, but I was wrong. Researching curriculum, language development, and motivation gave me the real reasons behind their reluctance. Several of my homeschool mom friends reported the same experience with their kids. I wondered if I could create a curriculum using a different approach that would engage reluctant students. I published the first volume of Grammar Galaxy in 2016, and since then, the most common review I receive is that it turned English from a dreaded subject into a favorite one. I'm going to share 5 hidden reasons kids hate English from my research. But if you'd like to grab a complete sample of this curriculum now, you'll find the link in the show notes. You'll want to hear the last reason because it not only explains reluctance to learn English, but math too. Let's start with the first surprising reason kids hate English: repetition. I discovered that parts of speech are taught in first grade and every single year all the way through 12th grade. Additionally, half of the content in traditional English curriculum is repeated. So you are going to be covering the same material year after year. And I liken that to the airline safety talk. You've heard and heard and heard this talk if you've flown at all consistently, but you just check out during it. I decided that it was better to use a mastery approach where the concepts are introduced and then built upon. For example, first you learn what a verb is, an action word, as in researched. Then you learn adverbs, as in thoroughly. Then clauses, which can be used as adverbs. When my son offered to pay me not to teach it is an adverbial clause for researched thoroughly. The advanced concept lessons review verbs without repeating the standalone lesson. The second reason kids hate English is it's not relevant, which, come to think of it, is true for the airline safety talk too. I'm thankful I've never needed that information. Grammar exercises ask students to identify parts of speech in random sentences. They aren't part of a story, and they aren't relatable to kids. Story is the best part of language arts, yet sentences are pulled out of context, and story isn't being used to teach the concepts, despite it being the best way to help kids remember. I'm willing to bet you'll remember my story of my son offering to pay me not to teach English if you have a reluctant student before you will remember all 5 of the hidden reasons I'm sharing. Grammar Galaxy is about the gremlin attacking the English language, causing chaos in the galaxy. The king assigns his 3 children to solve the problem, but there is more work for them to do than they can do alone. So they ask other kids to be fellow guardians of the galaxy. In traditional English curriculum, nouns are defined as people, places, and things. Then students are asked to find all the nouns in random sentences. In Grammar Galaxy, the gremlin arranges for the nouns to be taken from planet sentence by spaceship. As a result, people, places, and things begin disappearing from planet English where the people live. The king has the nouns brought back to their planet, but the guardians are needed to guide them back to the streets where they live, which are person, place, and thing streets. Now grammar has become relevant. The third reason kids hate English grammar in particular is because it requires abstract reasoning ability they haven't developed yet. Most kids don't develop this ability until 8th or 9th grade. This is why algebra has been delayed until then. My youngest son was an advanced early elementary student, but when I showed all my kids the formula for the area of a right triangle as memory work, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, he got very upset. He kept saying, "What?" about letters suddenly joining the party. Grammar is like that. We ask kids to remember letter sounds and word meanings, and on top of that, the role each word plays in the sentence, which can change. It's why I don't like diagramming. Kids not only have to remember the names of the parts of speech, but they have to remember which type of line is associated with that part of speech. I was able to get my first graders picking out parts of speech with a very repetitive curriculum that they despised. But that memory work didn't translate into good writing until they were teens. Given this developmental delay, you may wonder why we don't wait to teach grammar. You absolutely can. But most homeschooling parents I talk with want to introduce it earlier. In that case, we want to avoid making kids hate it before they're ready to use it successfully. After sharing about English studies repetition, irrelevance, and reliance on abstract reasoning skill to understand it, you may be able to guess hidden reason number 4. Kids hate English because it's not fun. Traditionally, we ask students to sit for long periods answering dry questions in a workbook to learn English. We present the same materials year after year that don't click. That isn't fun, and it's not a character flaw for kids to want learning to be fun. The more fun the lesson, the more memorable. The dopamine hit we get when an activity is enjoyable helps us remember it. One of the easiest ways to make English fun is incorporating humor. The Grammar Galaxy story that has the synonyms and antonyms mixed up is a student favorite. The characters are saying the opposite of what they mean. A practice activity has students also saying the opposite of what they mean at dinner after informing family members of their plan. Active games and teaching students how to write comedy are other ways I amp up the fun in Grammar Galaxy. The 5th reason kids hate English is because it's too hard. What was too hard for my kids was the surprise for me: handwriting. I had used multiple approaches to teaching my kids correct handwriting. I taught them how to form their letters. What I hadn't taught them was how to increase their speed. Their handwriting was so slow that they couldn't remember what they wanted to say in the first place. It made them reluctant to do math homework too. The solution was to do writing speed drills and dictation exercises, especially in a group where my kids were motivated to try to keep up with the other kids. These are both lessons I incorporated into Grammar Galaxy. I also added the option for kids to dictate their responses to a parent if their handwriting wasn't yet up to speed. No one likes to do things that make them feel like failures. To avoid that, we want to start our kids at a reading, grammar, and writing level that feels easy. That often provides the boost of motivation they need to try. A sneaky tip is to choose a level below your child's ability and then say you don't know if it's going to be too hard for them. If it is, ask your child to let you know. This allows your child to try it without fear of overwhelm, and it's usually a confidence booster. When my son offered to pay me not to teach English, I had no idea it would lead to uncovering these 5 reasons he and so many other kids hated language arts. Now, I would love to have you try Grammar Galaxy with your reluctant student, and you don't have to pay me. Use the link to the grammar taught in each volume to help you determine the lowest level that is mostly new to your student. I will also share the link for a placement test. If you have another question, drop it in the comments.